Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a good one here for you. We are talking about big name busts, players that are big names that are very inconsistent. On the show, we got the powerful not Wizard of Oz. We're talking Jimmy Maverick. I always have
Call me Gandalf. How about that? We can call me Gandalf.
Welcome to the show, everybody, guys. And Jimmy's on the show. And you know, Jim is full of great knowledge when it comes to fantasy football. We got 5 names here for you of players that, again, they're drafted very high, but they're very inconsistent. So we're going to talk about that here right now. Jim, welcome. I'm excited for the show. And we are a full flow fantasy football season. This is it. It's go time, really, at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's, before we know it, everybody's going to be in training camp. That's very exciting. And that's when the players are really going to start moving. We've been in kind of a lull. I was kind of concerned about going out of town for a few days for a camping trip, but nothing happened. And so I'm like, okay, great. I didn't miss anything. So
Right. Absolutely. We're ready to roll with this. Now, one thing before we get into these 5 players that are inconsistent, there is something that's lingering on my mind. I got to talk about this. It's bothering me. And that is news of Dalvin Cook. Where will Dalvin Cook end up? This could be catastrophic. I mean, if he ends up on the Patriots, great. I'm not drafting Stevenson. Stevenson looks good right now, but I'm not drafting him. If he ends up on the Jets, it's going to screw Breece Hall's value. If he ends up on the Fins, nobody really cares. So this is the big question mark, Jim. Where is Dalvin Cook going to end up? He's ready to screw somebody over, Jim. I don't know. There's no way else to say it.
Yeah, the only way to describe it is what we have sharks in the water right now. We've got that DeAndre Hopkins shark, we got a Dalvin Cook shark, and then we got some smaller sharks that don't matter nearly as much. But Those 2 guys are the big ones, and wherever they go, they're going to mess up the entire strategy you set for that team as far as those players go.
Right.
Ramondre gets ruined if Dalvin goes there. Breece gets ruined if Dalvin goes there. I don't think anybody gets ruined if he goes to the Fins. I'm fine with him going to the Fins, actually. I think that'd be all right.
Devin Otchain, but nobody cares, really. I mean, he hasn't done anything in the NFL. But, yeah, this is going to screw Breece Hall's value. Just drafted him in a $2,000 buy-in league in the second round because I like the upside. I was sitting there staring at Najee Harris, but other people I could have taken in the second round. I wanted the upside. In a league like this, you have to go upside. And I could win the league with 12 people, no problem. It's when you advance on after week 14 and you're in with a pool of 17,000 other teams, you need those upside players. Now, mind you, I did add depth. Always have a backup plan for a backup plan. Tons of RB depth. But the problem is if Dalvin Cook ends up with Breece Hall, it'll be fine. But you know what? At the end of the day, Dalvin Cook's going to get hurt anyway. I mean, they probably just want him for 2 weeks that he's good for anyway, and then Breece Hall takes over. But either way, it's a buzzkill, and that's something that's trending in the news right now as things are heating up in the conversation with the Jets. So it's been on my mind, Jim. It's bothering me.
Yeah, it's perfectly understandable. When you're talking about the draft capital, it's basically a second-round pick for either Ramondre or for Breece. Yeah, it's going to destroy their value. It will immediately turn them into maybe a 6th-round pick if that happens, and just a mess because it's going to be a total committee wherever he goes, right. And that's not what you need for your fantasy football team. So exercise caution. Hopefully something is announced soon. Maybe you'll go to Denver. That's another team that could use a running back like Dalvin Cook. So there's other options here, and I think what Dalvin wants to go on a team that's good, that has a chance to go to the Super Bowl. That's what he wants. He wants to have a ring. That's his goal right now. I think the same for Hopkins, both those guys. So that's where they're probably targeting to go.
All right. So before we get into this, guys, we're going to go through 5 players that are big name busts, potential busts, guys that are overrated and inconsistent. Before we get into that, make sure you guys get the 16-round draft solution and the 16-round plus app tool right now. The app tool is phenomenal. Just did a draft, a $2,000 buy-in league. I was on the 13-14 turn. I'm like, is this player going to make it to the next round? Or should I draft him now, or will he make it to rounds 15, 16? Sure enough, I used the app and it helped me. So 16-round plus tool. I've linked it below, or head on over to thefantasyfootballcouncil.com. Get this app, guys. You open it up. It's got tons of intel from contract years to bounce back players to all this intel that you have at your disposal during the draft, guys. Grab the 16-round plus tool right now. I'm excited.
Right. Yeah. It was really useful for you because you were
Yeah.
like, you were in the 10th, 11th pick. You have the first overall pick. So you were at the 10, 11 turn.
Yep.
And you were like, should I take Sam LaPorta? Should I take him now? It's a tight end premium league. So tight ends go a lot earlier than they do in other leagues. And I was like, counselor, just wait. You can wait till the next round to take him. He will be fine. He will
NFL.
make it back to you. And you trusted me on it. And yes, he made it to the next round, no problem. You got your guy, and you didn't spend too much on him. That's the best of all worlds, right there. So
Love it.
yeah, so I was that was great.
It
So
helped me on a bunch of
and
things.
one of
Laid
the
it
other
out.
things, one of the other things that the app has is it has consistency ratings for all the players, and we talk about consistency a lot on this show, and it's an important rating because basically it's trust. Can you trust the player? Is the player going to perform or is he going to disappear? There's a lot of inconsistent players out there. Every player has a consistency rating, and we're going to talk about some of the lowest consistency players early in the draft so you can know to stay away from them.
Well, let's give him a sample here. Let's pull up the slide here on who is it? Higbee and Kelsey. Do you want to explain the slide here?
Okay, yeah. So these are two tight ends, and we all knew who Travis Kelce is. Travis Kelce is one of the most consistent players in the NFL, one of the most consistent tight ends in the NFL. He rates a 10 out of 10 on the app, and it's easy to see why. Now, Tyler Higbee is the exact opposite. This guy rates a 1 out of 10 on the consistency scale, and so I wanted to just show him side by side to show you like what does high consistency mean. And if you look at Travis Kelce's usage, he basically, for the most part, fluctuates between 7 to 10 targets per game. That is beautiful. What a beautiful floor. The least amount of targets he had in any individual game was 6. And then he also had a boom game. He had a 17 target game. That's fantastic. You love that. But he is a guy you can absolutely trust. You just set him and you forget it because you know he's going to get the volume and you know he's going to get the production. That's why he's great. Now, on the other hand, you got a guy like Tyler Higbee who
Right.
is all over the place on his usage. I mean, look, he started out last year. He started out pretty well, man. He had 11 targets in week 1. He had 9 targets in week 2. Then in week 3, he had 4. And so now you're like, oh, geez, man, maybe I should bench him this week.
Right.
And so you go ahead and bench him. And what does he do? 14 targets in week 4, and then 10 targets in week 5, and then 2 targets in week 6. This is the stuff that will drive you insane in fantasy football because you're not going to know whether or not you can start Higbee. It's a total crapshoot. And you can't rely on a player like that to be a good choice for your fantasy team because they are going to disappear and that can cost you games.
Right.
And so that's the difference. That's what we're talking about here. That's what consistency is. It's like these inconsistent guys are like a roller coaster. They're up and down and up and down and up and down. And you don't know if it's going to be a good week or a bad week for them. And so just stay away from these kind of players. They are discounted on the app. Their Cuddy score is reduced if they have low consistency. So it is designed to show you that, hey, this guy is riskier. This is a poor choice as opposed to other players with higher consistency ratings. So
All right,
that's
Jim,
what we're talking about.
yes, and they're big names. So the first one here, I'm going to pull it up here, and there's got to be a perfect intro for this. And this is the sound. That's the sound. That's the sound we got for the intro. The first one we're going to talk about here is T. Higgins. Now, T. Higgins is a wide receiver too, and I don't care how you cut it. There's no way to dance around it. But I love in the draft when people draft wide receiver 2s early in the round. There's so many other wide receiver 1s available, 5th round and even beyond. And you're in the 3rd round drafting a wide receiver 2 who plays second fiddle to Jamar Chase. So to me, go ahead and take him. I love it. But yeah, T. Higgins, inconsistent last year. Jim, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on T. Higgins? Because again, people are spending a 3rd round pick on this. That is very expensive.
Yeah. And frankly, it's a terrible pick. In fact, T. Higgins rates as one of the least consistent players in the top 60 players. And a big part of that is Jamar Chase is a guy that commands like a 30% target share when he's playing. And anytime you have a player with that sort of target share, everyone else is just picking up table scraps. They can't compete against that, and they can't get enough of a target share to be any form of consistent. And he's just the perfect example. Now, looking at his usage last year, he ranged anywhere from 2 targets to 13 targets during his games, and it's just up and down. He has a 13 target game, then a 9 target game, then 5, then 8.
Right.
He started out the year, he had only 2 targets. There was even a game where he said he was going to be active. And so everybody started him, and he didn't play at all. He played like 1 or 2 snaps or something, and then he came off and got you a goose egg. A goose egg from a 3rd round player is murder for your fantasy team. And I just can't see a path to this guy achieving any sort of consistent usage as long as Jamar Chase is playing alongside him, and he doesn't get that much volume. He got 109 targets last year. That's it. That's not very good. That's not a lot, especially for a 3rd round.
And you're forgetting the most important thing. I mean, Chase didn't play the entire season. I mean, imagine if Chase played the entire season, you see more of a drop off. This is a chance where he could really exploit the opportunity where Chase was sidelined, and he didn't do that. So Higgins, to me, is a huge waste of a pick. Now, again, I can get wide receiver 2s later on. I can get them like with the last pick of the draft if I wanted to, right? So the third pick is ridiculous. I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
Yeah. And I think one thing I didn't overlay with this was some sort of comparison, like what were the weeks that Jamar Chase actually missed to see what his usage was. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that probably his highest volume weeks were the weeks without Jamar Chase. But regardless, this is a guy that you just absolutely need to avoid in fantasy football. You can't trust him. You can't start him. Just terrible. So.
Absolutely. All right. Another one here is an aging wide receiver, a wide receiver I will not be touching, who's got a little bit of upside simply because he's got Mr. Massage throwing the ball to him. Mr. Massages throwing the ball to him. Deshaun Watson. The guy we're talking about here is Amari Cooper. Rounds 3 to 4 ADP. Mr. Massage throwing the ball. Again, when I look at guys that are older, I take a look at them and I say to myself, okay, they're older. I'm not going to get this huge upside out of them. It's not something that I get excited about. I'm like, I'm giddy. Amari Cooper is on my team. And now I got to pay around 3 to 4 to get an Amari Cooper who's been in the league for a long time. Hasn't really wowed me. And more importantly, Jim, inconsistent, right? So we're looking at a potential bust here on his ADP easily. What do you think?
Yeah, and this has just been the case. This is just Amari Cooper. I don't know why, but he is amongst the least consistent receivers on a year-to-year basis. He just disappears. But then he'll have a fantastic game, just all over the place in his usage. He ranged anywhere from 4 targets to 12 targets a game. I'm looking right here. He had
Ridiculous.
4 games with 12 targets, which is fantastic. That's great. But then he also had 1, 2, 3, 4. He had like 6 games of 3 or 4 targets last year. And now last year he was actually a pretty good pick because he was going in like the 7th round or early 8th round. I picked him up in a bunch of leagues because of that. And he was great because he was my wide receiver 3 or 4 at that point in the draft. But because he was so good last year, he was the wide receiver 7 overall. Now he's been bid back up to the end of the 3rd, early 4th. And I just can't justify going for that kind of volatility. And again, a guy that early in the draft getting you 2 catches for 42 yards is going to destroy your fantasy team. It's going to stink. It's going to be the worst thing. The rest of your team could do great and you could still lose because Amari Cooper only got you 6 points, so
unacceptable.
Again,
Unacceptable. And again, you're paying an early draft capital for him, which again, I'm not going to be doing it. You guys could do that. I'm not going to do that, but we don't suggest you guys do crazy stuff like this. That's why we implore you to get the draft tool and the solution. Not doing it, Jim. Way too expensive. No, that's a no for me. That is the crumbling. Guys, if you're in the car, there's going to be a loud noise right now, and that is the dust crumbling. That is what's happening with your 3rd or 4th round pick if you get Amari Cooper. Now, he's going to have a couple good games, right? They got Elijah Moore there. There's other guys there that'll get some volume. He should be the guy. Again, Deshaun Watson coming off from, what is he? How many years laid off he is getting those massages? I don't trust it, Joe. I don't do it. We need a massage sound. That's what we need. We need a massage sound.
I don't know. That could be a very bad sound to play on.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yeah. We'll get a massage sound for Deshaun Watson every time we talk to him. Everyone's got to have their designated sound. And for Deshaun Watson, it's got to be like an ooh sound. All right. So Amari Cooper, I think we agree here. There's a potential bust on his ADP. Inconsistent. Let's move on here to the next one here. I'm going to give this guy a magical twinkle. And I'm only giving him a magical twinkle is because people actually think that he is magical, which he's not. Travis Etienne, I don't trust this guy. I mean, this is a guy that literally, I'm telling you, this is a guy that literally has not played his entire rookie season. So I'm thinking injury prone. Last year played the season and was inconsistent. There was a game that he had 0.3 fantasy points. Okay, I want to just zoom in on myself here as I say this, okay? There was a game where the RB1, because last year everyone told you to go 0 RB and make sure Etienne's one of your RB1s, right? Or if they did go RB early, they suggested guys like DeAndre Swift and Dalvin Cook who also busted on their ADP. But Travis Etienne is a guy I am staying far away from. He had 0.3 fantasy points in one game and 3.2 points in multiple games. Very inconsistent. I do not trust this guy, Jim, at all. Do not trust. And inconsistent is the word. How inconsistent is this guy, Jim? You elaborate. You looked at the numbers.
Yeah. Well, he rates a 3 out of 10 for consistency.
Yes.
And you got to realize also that for most of the year last year, he was the workhorse. He was the only guy in that backfield. James Robinson was only there for a few weeks and then they cut him. And so even once James Robinson left, this dude is like a total roller coaster. He ranged anywhere from 28 carries in a game on November 6th to 2 carries in a game on November 27th. He probably left that one early with an injury, but I see a game with 9 carries, 22 carries, 13 carries. I mean, it's just all over the place. And this was with no competition. Now this year he's got Tank Bigsby, a guy who they drafted in the 3rd round. And so there's going to be more competition for carries and for targets. I don't know how he can possibly improve on his consistency rating with that sort of a backfield that he actually has some competition back there. And, Doug Peterson, the coach, just never really utilizes a workhorse. He always has a committee. And so there is just massive red flags here for his outlook for the upcoming year. But especially this consistency is just terrible. And he's going to disappear on you and he's going to lose you weeks if you select him.
Yeah, if you guys are driving, and if you're driving, hang on to the wheel. It's not like the hill is crumbling beside you. That is your fantasy team, everybody. That is your fantasy team if you draft Travis Etienne in the 2nd or 3rd round. I am definitely staying away from him, Jim. That's it. There's no Etienne on my teams. And again, he could have a good year. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like this offense. I'm just not a Bigsby Bigsby's there. I'm not an ATN believer. I'm a Bigsby believer. There you go. That's a good one. Bigsby believer. You like that one?
That's a bit of a tongue twister, but we can go with it. Sure.
Sure. All right,
and Bigsby is a guy you can get in like the 9th or 10th round, man. I'd much rather have him than Etienne just for the upside on that part.
There you have it.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. Inconsistent. Inconsistent actually sounds like that trumpet. The word sounds like it. It smells of it. And speaking of guys stinking of inconsistencies, who was injured last year, Keenan Allen, who is coming off in the 4th round. I just did a $2,000 buying league. I keep talking about this league. He came off in the 3rd round. I mean, are you guys nuts? You got Quentin Johnson, who's a young dynamic talent, drafted in the 1st round. Joe Lombardi was terrible. I just ended up talking to a guy that runs a Chargers page, okay? Big Insta page. We were talking, and he was saying Lombardi's an idiot. I mean, they didn't even use Spiller last year. He's totally capable. Quentin Johnston's going to be used. He kept doing checkdowns. He didn't utilize Herbert to his max capabilities. In comes Kellen Moore, who was offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Way more upside, former quarterback. Again, I like this offense. I'm just not sold on Keenan Allen. Maybe they use him out of the slot, but I like the upside of Quentin Johnson, who I can get many rounds later. Keenan Allen, inconsistent, Jim. What do you say?
Yeah, not just inconsistent, but also not durable, dude. I mean, the dude missed half the season last year, and I took him in a ton of drafts, and I was just pulling my hair out because every week it was like, nope, not coming back this week. Nope, not coming back this week. And then when he did come back, he was all over the place in his usage. Now he did have some really, really good games for volume. He had 3 games where he had 14 targets, which is just an insane amount of volume, which is fantastic. But look, the dude's 31. We've got Quentin Johnson being added into the receiving room here. Is he going to be able to maintain that sort of level of volume? Is he going to be able to be a more consistent player with the additional
Nope.
aerial assets that are going to be available to Justin Herbert? I think the
Big
answer is
no.
no on all of those things.
Big no.
Not to mention that at his age, this is a decline phase of Keenan Allen's career. Where's the upside? I'm not seeing it. I'm not taking him. I mean, I swore off him last year after he when he just was not there for the entire first half of the fantasy season. But regardless, I wouldn't take him anyway. So,
All right, listen to this. I got a new one for you. All right. I'm squinting for Quentin. Do you like that? Like I'm squinting. Like I like. I'm like squinting for Quentin. Do you like that? I'm a Bigsby believer, and I'm squinting for Quentin. What do you think?
when you rhyme stuff, people their natural default is to say that it's true. That's why when if you want to convince somebody of something, you just do a little rhyme, and if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit, right? It worked. It worked there. That's an example, an oldie but a goodie. But anyway, yeah. So sure, let's go with it.
So your back's against the wall. Last pick of the 4th round, and Keenan Allen's there. You're spinning the wheel. Are you spinning the wheel on Keenan Allen, taking a chance and picking him up on your team? No, you're done.
No, absolutely not. I'm not touching him this year.
All right. Yeah.
Where he's going, there's lots of other really good options. So I'm totally fine with bypassing him. So yeah.
All right. We got one more here for you. Before we do, again, grab the 16-round plus tool. We've linked it below. It'll help you big time. Inside information. It's not even inside information. It's all in one spot, though. It's all consolidated, so you don't have to run around. Look, I even ended up using it in the draft, and I know this stuff like the back of my hand. So if I needed a tool, you guys are definitely going to need a tool. All right, so get it, 16-round plus thefantasyfootballcouncil.com under programs, or linked it here below on YouTube. Last one here, Jim. He is going to get the breaking news sound.
We now have breaking news.
Breaking news to people who are still drafting him. Not breaking news to us, Jim, because we're aware. We're aware that he's had years to wow us, and we're not wowed. Brandon Aiyuk coming off round 6 to 7. Again, and maybe breaking news to you guys, he's not that good. Inconsistent is the word here. Potential bust. What do you think, Jim? You taking him?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the receiving assets on this team. When you look at the fact that there's CMC, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Aiyuk, who's the number 4 in that group? I think Aiyuk is either the number 3 or number 4 on that team on any given week. And he does have big weeks, right? There's 3 weeks last year where he got 11 or more targets. That's fantastic. But then you also look here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should have counted 6. 6 games, 4 targets or less. What do you expect is going to happen? He's going to end up with these lines like 2 catches for 20 yards. I mean, this is what you're going to get from someone like Brandon Aiyuk. And again, it is going to kill your fantasy team. It's going to lose you games because he is going to have performances like that pretty often during the course of the season, and so while he does offer a nice high ceiling, it's a very productive offense. I just cannot trust a guy like Aiyuk on a week-to-week basis. When I have to set my lineup, I'm going to be sweating every week. Should I put him in? Should I keep him on my bench? Put him in or keep him on my bench? You don't want players like that. That's exactly what Aiyuk is. And and his consistency rating, 4 out of 10. So he's below average. And these are just guys you don't want to bother with. They are going to just keep you up at night, and they're going to disappoint you many times during the course of the season.
Yeah, that definitely. So people are driving like, what is that? Is that the mountain beside me? Did something come crashing down? Hopefully not, guys. Drive safely on the road. That is just the sound of dust settling, rocks crumbling, and your team if you draft them from round 6 to 7. I do not trust them. And again, you don't want those players that are inconsistent every single week. That you got to stress and you're sweating. Oh, should I start him? Oh, he only gave me 0.3 points, Travis Etienne. That bothers me. That really, and then that's why I lose it on social media. I go on social media and I lose it. Why do I lose it on these players? I lose it on these players is when they put up crappy points like Travis Etienne. In that 1 week, we had 0.3 fantasy points. And you wonder, Joe, why do you get angry? It's because you have people like Travis Etienne putting up duds, and they're very inconsistent. That's why. Got to stay consistent, guys, and then I won't get on you on social media. Do your job. Play. Don't put up duds. We rely on you. Millions of fantasy teams rely on these guys, Jim. You don't want inconsistent teams, and that's what this show is about. And there was 5 for you. Hopefully this helps you guys avoid some of these guys, players to avoid. Any last words on these guys, Jim?
Not a whole lot, but just wanted to say that in the app, in the 16 Rounds Plus app, all the players have assigned to them a consistency rating. And so you're going to know who the low consistency and the high consistency, I can't even talk anymore. Yeah. The low and high consistency players are. It's very easy to see. And it's the consistency is a part of the Cuddy score. So all the players have a Cuddy score. And if players like these get negative Cuddy points because they score so low on consistency ratings. And so, again, it's going to help you find the best players at each and every round of your draft. It's a great tool. Check it out. 16roundsplus.com.
All right, guys, make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, and grab the 16 Round Plus. Drop a comment below. Let me know. Are you drafting these inconsistent busts? We'd like to know. Talk soon, guys. Thanks, Jim, for coming on. We're out.
All right. Thank you, Counselor. Have a good weekend, everybody.